I think this is a major cycle where we're going to bring in more Bitcoiners than ever before. Whether you're a person, a business, or a nation state, you have to have some sort of Bitcoin plan. The devaluation of the dollar, it's coming. It's essentially a loser's game. Saving in the fiat system, you're running on that hamster wheel. Bringing back people's time, I think, is the biggest positive to Bitcoin. The inflationary things that are built into the current system are not built into the Bitcoin system. You don't need much to retire on it, man.
What is your favorite thing about Bitcoin?
Yeah, man. So my favorite thing about Bitcoin is...
All right, Brandon Keys, founder of Green Candle Investments. How's it going, man?
It's good, man. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you being here, man. So Green Candle Investments, you got a great YouTube channel. You're doing awesome interviews there at Green Candle on YouTube. You're on X, Green Candle IT, TikTok, Insta. You got the Green Candle podcast. So you're crushing it. You're prolific, man. You're putting out a ton of content and a lot of good info.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for tuning in. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate you reaching out and having me on the show just for me blabbing some hot air into a microphone and making some videos, man. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being here. All right, so let's see what we can pull out of you on this first answer to this first question, which is, what is your favorite thing about Bitcoin?
Yeah, man. So my favorite thing about Bitcoin is the fixed supply, the 21 million. And because of the fixed supply that we've got here, you don't need much to retire on it, man. You could just continually stack sats. I think it only takes, about 10 million sats to retire on it because of this price appreciation that we're going to see. As you and I both know, the devaluation of the dollar it's coming, right? The Fed even tells you, right? It's 2% at least. That's their target, right? And if you look at the way that CPI has been reported for years past, it's essentially, a loser's game. They're going to inflate the dollar more than that 2%, majority of the time, more than 50% of the time, every single month. They're looking at it year over year. And Bitcoin is going to thus appreciate over time because of the fixed supply and the more and more people coming into it. So, maybe we could get into some price predictions or something next, but I think, you don't really need too much to retire on it. So I like that 10 million sat number, the 0.1 Bitcoin, to kind of get into it, because I think, it doesn't really take much, but obviously shoot for as much as you possibly can. I think everybody shooting to get one Bitcoin would be the end goal and kind of providing that value. But I think, the amount that you need is definitely obtainable. Whereas, if you're saving in the fiat system, you're running on that hamster wheel. You'll never be able to retire. And that's where we're kind of leading into society. So bringing back people's time, I think, is the biggest positive to Bitcoin here going forward.
I might be guilty of laying in bed at night doing like Sailor's, 29% ARR average over the next 29 years calculation of like, what year can I retire? Oh, shoot, I need to stack more Bitcoin. I don't have enough yet, because I want to retire next. No, I'm just kidding. But I love that answer. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like, obviously that part of that's why we all love it so much, right? The difference between the fiat world and the Bitcoin world, and the biggest differences there of like, it's one of the biggest things we all find so fascinating about it. This might be a weird random question that, since we all love Bitcoin, we don't talk about this that much. Do you have a least favorite thing about Bitcoin?
I think just the marketing. It's not really what Bitcoin is, I guess, or anything like that. I just think that the way Bitcoiners have marketed Bitcoin is just very, very poorly done. And I think it's not a problem of the Bitcoin or anything like that. I actually had an interesting conversation. I'm out here in Austin right now. We had a Bitcoin breakfast here that they have, I guess, every Tuesday morning. So I went to that, and a lot of people kind of felt the same way. And one person worded it pretty interestingly to me. It's like, when you go to a business, you have sales reps, marketing, and you have like the product development team. They're all usually separate, but the product development team never talks to the customers to try to sell the product, right? And I'm not saying like you need to sell Bitcoin, right? But you need to market the idea of Bitcoin to kind of have more people see the freedom money and everything like that. So I think a big issue that we're seeing right now in Bitcoin is that a lot of people are trying to, market to these niche markets, right? Like, we got all the Bitcoiners who are, doing crazy things like sunning your balls, right? Going full carnivore, that aspect of things. And that applies to some people, a very niche amount of people. But I think, being able to, give it to more of a broader spectrum of people, I think is really important and something that we need as Bitcoiners to kind of focus on. Whether that's, just relating to the normies instead of discrediting them, kind of meeting every person where they're at. And I think, as it stands right now, we're not doing a great job of that. So hopefully shows like this, my show can kind of help bring some more people on. And yeah, more of that content of, being fun with it. The doom and gloom, I don't think too many people resonate with. And I think that's something as Bitcoiners we can definitely change.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that's a great answer. It's like there's so many misnomers and misinformation about what Bitcoin is. And then, yeah, a lot of the way that Bitcoiners, sometimes behave on social or whatever doesn't give us the best reputation at times, maybe like gloating or have fun staying poor, all that kind of stuff. Maybe turns people off.
Even with that, like, I don't even know if it's really that, because,
hmm
if you look at the shitcoiners, right? I mean, the crypto bros, whatever you want to call them, right?
Yeah.
They've been able to market and sell these ideas on these ridiculous tokens, right? Like Pepe or, Dogecoin or whatever it is. And, they've been able to market to that people to kind of do these pump and dump schemes. So I don't even know if it's like the fun staying poor kind of
hmm
aspect of it. I think it's just a lot of people think Bitcoin is too technical. And, in reality, a lot of people just don't want to think about money. So I don't know if it's necessarily the gloating or anything like that, because I think that, you
hmm
know, that actually might pique more people's interest, to be honest. Because I think like, they're like, hey, why is this rich guy, getting into this? And why are these rich people kind of going into that? So like, they wanna see why other people are they want to see other people making money because they want to make money. So, I think
Yeah.
that aspect is a little bit where I disagree with you on that, where I think
Sure. No, that's
more
fair.
people want to, yeah, more people want to do that.
That makes sense. I know. I think. I mean, I kind of feel you. Maybe we see it like a tiny bit differently, but in the way that lately, what I've been looking at a lot of is just how many people misunderstand Bitcoin, just have no idea, and the criticisms they throw at it are just so ignorant of what it actually is that they clearly have just seen like handful of headlines in the Wall Street Journal or whatever over the years. They've seen like some mainstream media coverage, and they just have no actual idea of what it is. They always say like it's a tulip bubble or it's, and you're like, if you would study it for 10 minutes, you'd understand that comparison makes no sense. So like that's where I feel a little bit like the marketing in my mind comes in of like so many normies just have such a misunderstanding of what it is, and that's actually just only hurts them. It's like it doesn't hurt anybody but themselves if they're not willing to take the time to look into it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like majority of people just don't want to think about money in general. And so I think that's a big issue that we have had in society and just in the Bitcoin space in general, is like everybody wants to be like doom and gloom, the world's going to end, fiat currency's the death of ya, all these different things. And, maybe Michael Saylor resonates with some people, maybe Jack Mallers resonates with some people, maybe somebody else resonates with some people. But I think like as a whole, right, telling people, alcohol is super bad, you everything is screwed and like you can't enjoy life, like basically blackpilling everything, I don't think is the way. I think it's great to be aware of all of these things, that fiat has essentially, ruined, but you're never going to sell anybody on that. Like if I'm going to try to orange pill a girl at a bar, I'm never going to tell her about mining or nodes or any of this other thing. The easiest thing that you can tell them is like, or not even just a girl, just anybody in general, is like, hey, it's, decentralized, fixed supply, you have to just meet them where they at, right? Like, I don't know, like you go to a coffee shop or a bar, coffee's $3 now. 2 years ago, or, it's $5 now. 2 years ago, it was 4 years ago, it was $3. It went up because they're devaluing your currency. Everybody's feeling inflation. So do a reference like that there, right? And then, to take it a step further, then you'd be like, all right, well, Bitcoin's a fixed supply. So, the inflationary things that are built into the current system are not built into the Bitcoin system. If you save in Bitcoin, your purchasing power will go up over time. There you go. Wipe your hands of it. Simple as that. And then if they want to dive into more of the technicals, then you meet them there. But running into the nodes, all this stuff, like, I mean, I saw the video with the Winklevoss twins the other day, trying to orange pill Dave Portnoy when Bitcoin was at 15K. And he was saying they were saying that Elon was going to go, launch rocket ships on asteroids to mine gold. And that's why Bitcoin's better than gold. It's like, who the hell's listening to that? So, I think like every Bitcoiners just try to make it more complicated. And I think it's just,
Hmm.
something where it's a lot simpler and easier than a lot of Bitcoiners are making it. And we can, make it easy for everybody to understand.
Yeah, I feel like most of us have got to have had some experience with that, especially maybe now while like the price is pumping. I had like my dad talk to me about it for the first time, maybe ever. I had like my father-in-law starts asking me questions, like people who different generation or who like don't normally bring it up. And you find yourself in that conundrum of, well, what's the best way to explain this thing to this person? Because yeah, there's so many different answers you can give. If someone said, "What's Bitcoin?" Like you could start with like, "It's a protocol for a monetary network." Do they know what any of those words mean?
Yeah.
Like depending who you're talking to, probably not. So yeah, I like your answer about just start with like the most accessible sort of easy way in. That's the answer that's most accessible to the most people that they can compare it to something they already understand. Speaking of that, so who orange pilled you, or how'd your orange pilling journey start?
Yeah, so I actually went down the rabbit hole while I was in graduate school. So I was driving Uber for just at good old Texas A&M College Station, Texas. So Giga Maggie's. I was basically just driving like Friday or Saturday night to get extra beer money and researching things. Like I had Acorns, if you're familiar with that app. It's basically like a dollar cost averaging, but you buy into the S&P. It's free for college students. So I guess I don't know if there's any college students listening. Shameless plug, but and I don't get anything from that.
Got an
So
affiliate link?
just
Look,
to let
let's go.
everybody
Come
know.
on.
But anyway, no, I don't. Nah, man, I got rid of that thing now. I'm Bitcoin only.
Right, exactly. No, I do have Acorns, and they did intro Bitcoin, so you can have like a 5% allocation to it, which I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. They're kind of like
Oh,
a little bit ahead of the curve.
interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't have that. That wasn't the case when I was in college. To date me a little bit, so my back's hurting a little bit just recording this podcast. I'm just kidding. But anyway, I was listening to a lot of podcasts while I was doing that to try to figure out how to grow my wealth. Preston Pish, before he had the Bitcoin only show, I was listening to We Study Billionaires. And he brought up Bitcoin. So I started going down the rabbit hole when he had Safedine and Plan B on back to back weeks, and I think that was maybe 2016, 17 time. And then I finally got a big boy job December 2018 when I graduated, and that's when I was just full on into Bitcoin, man. I was, working a job where I was driving, from Tampa to Jacksonville once a week, 6 hour round trip, a lot of time for podcasts, man. So I just kind of went down the rabbit hole
Yeah.
there and was just buying a bunch. And, you know, we saw Bitcoin after I was in it for about a year fall from, 8 to 12,000 to 4,000 under in the COVID crash. And I was like, all right, now it's, if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, hey, I'm just getting started, so I can afford to lose a little bit. And I'm glad I doubled down on it a little bit then. So yeah, it's been a journey to say the very least, but um, yeah, it's definitely been an exciting one, and it's, I never thought we would be where we're at today when I started getting into
Yeah.
it, to say the very least.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that first crash will test your conviction, which is, a good thing ultimately in the long run, right? You're like, "Oh, am I convicted in this thing, or did I just FOMO in and I was kind of deluding myself a little bit? Do I actually believe in it?" Speaking of that, so like you've gone through, a cycle and a half, maybe, or whatever, sounds like close to 2 cycles. What will change about Bitcoin in the next cycle, in the next 4 to 5 years? Is there something that you think will change?
I think everybody, whether you're a person, a business, or a nation state, you have to have some sort of Bitcoin plan, whether it's one side or the other. I think that's what's going to change, and we're already starting to see that now. Microsoft closed their vote that they will not put Bitcoin as a strategic or as a reserve on their balance sheet. I think that might change in the next year or so, but Amazon shareholders are urging Amazon board members to look at this because of the success of MicroStrategy. So we're seeing two of the top 10 market cap companies in the world talking about Bitcoin, at least having the conversation, right? Then we also have Trump coming into office next year, where he's talking about a strategic reserve. Eric Trump's over in MENA right now talking about how the state of Florida is going to do a strategic reserve for the singular state, while The entire United States is looking at that as well. We've had Brazil, China, Morocco, like the list goes on of all these different countries and nation states start to formulate some sort of Bitcoin plan. Now, we also, on the other side of things, right, we have a lot of the EU countries like France and Italy propose more taxes on Bitcoin and crypto. And the EU is starting to, try to build a digital euro. So their CBDC policy is what they're trying to build out. So, kind of like I said, I think like either way, there is going to be a strategy, whether you're a business, country, or just a person, where you're going to have to allocate some to Bitcoin. And I think this is a major cycle where a lot of people are going to be brought in, and we're going to bring in more Bitcoiners than ever before. And so Bitcoin's going to be a daily talking point for not just us psychopaths in the Bitcoin space, but everybody alike in the next 4 years, to say the very least. It might even happen next year, where we're talking about Bitcoin every single day. But if Bitcoin crashes and continues to go through these cycles, I think everybody's still going to have some sort of a Bitcoin policy and plan in the next 4 to 5 years for sure, especially come around the next cycle.
Especially the way it feels now with all the like positive catalysts we have going on right now. It feels like that's definitely the truth. But we'll see. What do you think's not going to change about Bitcoin in the next 4 or 5 years?
The decentralized nature and the fixed 21 million, man. That's never going to change, and it never will, man. It never will. So I think that's the beauty of it, right? It's going to stick the same, keep on chugging on, and it's, as Michael Saylor says, it's going to go forever, up forever, Laura.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we talked about how you got orange pilled, and you talked a little bit about like orange pilling people. Like, are you going to a lot of bars and orange pilling women there? Like, who's the last person you orange pilled yourself? And do you do a lot of orange pilling in your personal life? I know you do on the content channels.
Yeah, so to be honest, I don't really bring it up to too many people. Never bring it up to women at bars. Believe it or not, that is not a big driver to get ladies to give me their phone numbers and all that, unfortunately. But if there are some ladies, I'm here. I'm wide open. I'm single, so come holler at your boy. No, I'm just kidding. But I try to orange pill my close friends who know, what I do with the podcast and everything. But I just usually let people just ask me questions about it, and I don't really try to shove it in their face. That's like one thing. And a lot more people are coming around this time. I'm getting text messages in this cycle that I've never gotten before. Specifically just one guy, he sent me a text midsummer where he was basically chirping me and just being like, oh, Bitcoin's going to go to 100K this year, when the price was at like 50 or 60 or something like that. And then when Bitcoin was like climbing rapidly in this past month, and, getting past 90, I sent him that message. I was like, hey, remember this, buddy? Look who's right. And then he's like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, how did you know? And then I kind of sat down with him, and he read a book on his own, The Psychology of Money. I actually haven't read that book, so I don't really know too much about it, but he kind of started to go through his own rabbit hole. And I was like, yeah, man, like, just, you got to learn for yourself. And now he's kind of becoming orange pilled and radicalized. Like, when he saw the price dip, he's like, I put a bunch more money into my account and buying it more. And when it dipped, I kind of tested him and was like, hey man, like, you see this dip, like, how you feeling? He's like, time to buy more. So he's kind of gone down the rabbit hole, seeing how the Fed is, just kind of ruining everything by inflating away the currency and everything like that. And he was texting me earlier today about how they're trying to use money to control all these people. And I'm like, yeah, brother, once you get deeper into it, you realize like everything is connected to money. So
Never ends. Yeah.
it's kind of funny in that sense. But yeah, man, that was like, and he's been probably one of my better friends for the past year or so. And it took me like a good year to get him. But outside of that, man, like, my family still thinks I'm a little crazy. Like, all these other people don't really see it yet. They think Trump coming in is a big deal. They thought Elon, when he was accepting Tesla or Bitcoin for Teslas, was a big deal, but, they're never looking to buy it. And they're just,
Yeah.
they ask me how much I have, and I, try to hide that from them. So,
Don't tell him. Yeah.
that's just kind of where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Like I've had say like my father-in-law, for example, like he kind of like needles me about it every so often, but enough to the point where I'm like, this guy's interested. Like he wants to actually me to actually talk to him about it. He's just kind of like making fun of me about it too. So this Christmas, I'm gonna give him the Bitcoin Standard. Maybe give him a little bit of give him a few satoshis that he can watch in a wallet and like start to get in, because I think like he actually is interested. He just kind of like needs a way in that's kind of like somebody's going to do it for him. But the other thing that I've noticed is
Yeah.
that I have few people in my life, not a ton. You ever get this where they find out you like Bitcoin, they poke fun at you, they kind of make fun of you, like, oh, you're buying Beanie Babies or whatever. And then like some point in the conversation, like 5-10 minutes in, they're like, yeah, I bought some too. I have some too. You're like, what? Like you're roasting me, but
Yeah. I mean,
you're in too. Yeah.
yeah, usually it's like shitcoiners, to be honest. Usually it's
Yeah.
people who are like, oh, like, Ethereum or Solana's the way of the future or whatever. But it's not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, they all think Bitcoin is like our grandfather's crypto and all that kind of bull. But I mean, some people like actually like, I actually did get some text messages from people that have like other things. When Bitcoin hit 100K, they're like, "Oh, nice call," because I wrote it in a newsletter and all that. So I kind of was gloating on my personal social media, like I've been trying to tell everybody, but nobody's been listening. And now they're all kind of coming around to me. So it's interesting for sure. I've been the crazy Bitcoin guy for a while, but now they're starting to come around, man. Now they're starting to come around.
Your Orange Pilly story is not that different from mine, just kind of like consuming a lot of content. So you talked about Preston Pish and all these different people who kind of got you into it. Right now, do you have a favorite resource for learning about Bitcoin other than Green Candle, But where do you go? Do you have a favorite resource or person in the space right now that you like to listen to or learn from?
I mean, I'm kind of bad with that now. So now that I create my own content, I don't listen to a lot of like the other Bitcoin related podcasts. I look at what a lot of other people are doing outside of the Bitcoin space. I don't want to be too critical of like my peers or anything like that, but I think like when it comes to the messaging of Bitcoin and Bitcoiners, like I'm kind of just tired of the doom and gloom, man. Like I just like Bitcoin content, like unless price is going up, is like kind of depressing. And so I like to, I like to listen to certain speakers, I would say. Of course, like, Simply does a lot of great stuff. My buddy Luke Mikic, he does great. He's a permabull, that guy. So I always like listening to his stuff, and I think his stuff is great. So those two guys, those two shows, and are always pretty great. And I think those guys they're good resources to kind of figure out what's going on, like current news. But yeah, man, outside of that, like I've just always been, I kind of describe Green Candle as like the bar stool of Bitcoin and finance. And that's the kind of content I like to consume, man. I think like everybody likes to laugh every now and then. So that's what the kind of stuff I'm trying to aim for sure.
You must have seen yesterday, Portnoy. I don't even normally watch most of his stuff,
Yeah.
but I just happened to see on my YouTube. He started talking about I thought he was going to do a virtual interview with Saylor, and Saylor slid in on the chair like he was like Troy Aikman on the Sunday Night Football broadcast, and they were in the same bedroom. I thought
Yeah,
that
it
was
was like
pretty funny.
yeah, it was like Chris Collinsworth where, he comes in and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, here's a guy," like every Sunday we always see that. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, I thought that it was, I think, to be honest, I think Dave Portnoy getting into Bitcoin is bigger than Michael Saylor or anybody else for retail. Because Dave Portnoy, whatever that guy does, people have been watching him, right? So he's talked to like we mentioned before, the Winklevoss twins before he got out on Bitcoin. He did the whole shitcoin thing where he got into SafeMoon and he got rugged. And now he's coin only, he's talked about Barstool, potentially putting Bitcoin as a strategic reserve for their company's balance sheet. And, I think it's just, it's just a matter of time until, we get more of these people on board. So I think it's, man, I think, he's going to play a pivotal role here in 2025. He's talked so many times about buying Bitcoin and just it not working out. So, man, I think he's finally going to get it here. And I think Saylor's sitting in with him. I do think Saylor did a terrible job trying to do it as a sports analogy because, like, Sailor very clearly does not know sports. Like I love the guy, he's great, but he does not know sports. So I think like maybe we need to get somebody else on there to, you know, do a little bit about the teams. And I think describing it to Portnoy as the team with Tom Brady, the Patriots with Tom Brady and Randy Moss that went undefeated. Just imagine them beating the New York Giants, and you don't have a David Tyree like catching the football on his head, kind of thing, and you don't run into Eli Manning. Like if you just you know if you just had like a perfect team, which just absolutely shell shock or shelling everybody, just killing them. And there's no way that they could lose. That's basically Bitcoin just running through everything. So I think he could have described it a little bit better, but you know, he tried to relate it to sports.
Yeah, I'm with you on like what are the best ways to sort of orange pill or get the message out to the masses and retail in a way that kind of resonates with people. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you do Bitcoin interviews and you talk to a lot of people. So what I'm interested in is like what is one question that you've never been asked before that nobody's ever asked you about Bitcoin? Is there anything you can think of?
It's a great question. I think one thing that I try to do, that is I always try to bring out like people's personality towards the end, especially people like, you know, Jack Mallers, Jeff Booth, like those type of people, because I feel like everybody just asks them the same questions. So I don't know, like I asked Jeff about he has a guitar that's always famously right behind him, and
Yeah.
Jack Mallers is a Chicago guy. I was born in Chicago, so I asked him a little bit about the city there. Dennis Porter, I just had on. I asked him a little bit about Portland, where he's from. So I kind of like to, yeah, just get to know the people a little bit, opposed to just like, oh, the orange pill story. What makes you tick about Bitcoin? I think I think getting to know the people like interest outside of Bitcoin is also kind of like a big driver that will help bring people in. So outside of like what I have been asked, I don't know, man. I guess just from there, it's just like, yeah, who is Brandon before Bitcoin? It was, you know, I was a track guy in college, big sports guy, still to this day a big sports guy. I love that entertainment. I love having fun, man. So I just like having these thought provoking conversations, and yeah, man, just have to like enjoying life. I know
Yeah.
sounds like a novel concept, but yeah, that's the kind of the way I view Bitcoin is that it opens up a lot of time, so you can really find your passions and enjoy that. And I think a lot of people and a lot of conversations in Bitcoin are too much around the technology and what it's going into, instead of like utilizing Bitcoin can do to help figure out more about yourself, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, I agree with that in the sense that like once you just start down that rabbit hole of like, wait, what is money? Why do I work for this thing? Why can they print more of it? What is saving? Like that whole thing is really what kind of blew my mind. And you're gonna go down that rabbit hole and you start asking all these questions of, to me, what it feels like people who dismiss Bitcoin out of hand, they just don't even bother to ask the question of what are the dollars? How'd they come into reality? Like the dollar is sort of like an experiment that's been going for like a handful of decades. It's not like something that always has been since the beginning of time and always will be. It's like we're doing this thing as an experiment and we don't actually know how long it's going to work. So maybe question whether or not that all is, makes sense for you and what's best for your life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I definitely think yeah, just questioning everything, man. I think that's the biggest thing. It's just get curious.
Cool, man. All right. Last question, I guess. Got any events upcoming or anything you're going to that you're excited about in the Bitcoin space?
Yeah, I'll be in Medellin, Colombia here in a couple
Oh,
weeks. I'll
sick.
be at Bitcoin Medellin. If anybody wants to join me in Colombia, you can shameless plug here. You can use promo code Green Candle 21 to come down there and join some other Bitcoiners. Jeff Booth's going to be there. He's going to be speaking. George Gammon, some other big dogs. Um, so yeah, man, gonna check out Colombia. And then I don't really know too much past that, to be honest with you, but I'm sure I'll be in like Vegas and some of the other big ones. But yeah, I'll be at a lot of conferences, have planned tentatively at least five or six this year in 25. So I'll be around, man. I'll be around. Look for the hat and the short guy just probably blowing his spewing some Bitcoin bullishness here the next year or so.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm looking to hopefully go to the big conference in Vegas in May. So maybe we'll be able to get a chance to say what's up if I get to go.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Yeah, come find me. I'll be doing a lot of like vlogs and kind of behind the scene video stuff of that. So yeah, man, come find me and yeah, maybe we'll get some content or do something like that in person. It would be fun for sure.
Cool, man. Thanks. Well, appreciate you taking the time again. Everybody check out Green Candle, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Insta, got the podcast, crushing it. Appreciate all the content you're putting out, and I appreciate you taking the time to chat for a few minutes.
Of course, man. Thanks so much for having me. And everybody, subscribe to this man's pod. Hit subscribe, hit the like button wherever you're listening. He's putting in good work. It's not easy to do what he's doing. So help support the boy, man.
See, I appreciate that. See, I'm too new and I forget to hit all the subscribe, like, notification bell. You know, I'm not practiced enough at it yet. So you do it for me.
There we go. Yeah, man. Hey, it's better when the guest does it for you, right? It's better when you get you get the green candle stamp of approval. So, yeah,
there
man.
you go.
Support the guy.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.